Monday. We are so glad to be back in the studio recording to bring you the latest on what's happening in the market this week and cover some of the stocks that you want to hear about. We're excited to dive in right away. I've got MarketBeat's Chris Markoch and Thomas Hughes with me again. Guys, thanks for being back here on another MarketBeat Monday. We have so much to cover today, so let's just get started right away. Let's talk about this green heat map that we're seeing. What's behind all of the positive vibes we're having in the market today?
Well, I think the general market euphoria today was the hint of a trade truce. We were talking about that a minute ago. Still just a whisper, but the hints are that Trump and Xi are going to spark some kind of a deal here pretty soon.
Yeah, and we were also talking before we came on. This is probably also a little bit of a anticipation of big tech earnings this week. Most of the Mag 7, Tesla reported last week, but you're getting Microsoft, Apple, Alphabet, Meta this week. So this is a big week for the Mag 7, and if they report the way they expected to report, investors are already trying to get ahead of that.
Yeah, I think we're definitely
see that on the heat map. I mean, all of the Google and Nvidia are up strong today, really strong.
It looked,
and pretty much all of tech is green.
Yeah, pretty broad-based greenness in the heat map today. There's some spots of red. Individual companies, not sectors. Certainly, all the big market-leading names performed pretty well today. All the big tech names. The stocks that didn't pull back very much. So we just see a little bit of profit trimming in some names, putting money into new names. I do want to point out, I'm looking here now, Advanced Micro Devices jumped almost 3%, set a new high. That's pretty good for that stock. It's has been at new highs for the last few weeks. It's setting new closing highs, and the charts look pretty hot. We've got convergence in the MACD, so I'm thinking this one's going to keep moving higher, at least until it reports earnings in a few weeks, and probably long after that.
Yeah, how about Qualcomm?
Oh yeah, dude. So they're going to start competing with AMD and Nvidia for GPU space, which is pretty hot because they were already well positioned for all the custom GPU business. So now they're just going to use that custom knowledge to make GPUs for everybody, and that's awesome for them. Because as we've been talking about with the supply demand picture, the way that they laid it out from Wedbush, there's enough demand that these three companies, Nvidia, AMD, and Broadcom, can all supply as many GPUs as they want for the next year or 2 or 3 years and still not meet the demand.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, that's quite a jump for Qualcomm today. That's a good look at some of the standouts from the heat map this week. Let's do a little bit more into, Chris, I'm glad you brought up that it's going to be big tech earnings week. What are we expecting heading into earnings? And do you expect to see more green before these earnings reports come out this week?
I do. I think what a lot of people are really going to be looking for is that you're going to still hear more of the same, more of what you've heard, reiterating the fact that they're spending on the data centers, that there's no interruption in that. The bar is set pretty high. I will say that. I mean, even you've had a stock like Apple that's run up on a lot of news, and that means that a lot of the earnings is already priced into their stock. So you've got the potential that you could see maybe some of these stocks not do as well as the earnings reports might state, but that's because I think a lot of the good news is already priced in.
Right. I agree with that. I think the bar is set really high, and it just sets the stage to where these companies are probably going to outperform consensus, but they're going to need to outperform so significantly to impress the market that it might not be possible. And so then we have the situation where there's some profit taking, some consolidation could happen. If there is some other kind of bad news or catalyst that comes out at the same time, we could see, a broad market correction of 5 or 10%. But again, I still think we're in a pretty solid uptrend. AI is still driving the market, and if we get that correction, it would absolutely be a buying opportunity.
I think that's a good way to look at this. Think about any correction as a buying opportunity. That's some good advice. Let's talk about any other, before we move on to some of the stocks that everyone's suggesting, which, by the way, thank you for all of the comments in the chat already. It's so great to see all of you again. We missed you last week too. I've got a few different stocks that people have left comments on videos throughout the week, so I'm going to get to some of those too. But let us know in the comments which stocks you want us to cover. I'm going to try and get to as many as I can. If you want to make sure I see it, do a quick super chat. That's a new thing that you can try to make sure it gets my attention. It'll move it right to the top of the list for me to look at. So let's get into some stocks in just a minute. First, though, one somebody asked about, I think John wanted to know about Palantir. It was on my list to talk about because we're 1 week away from earnings for Palantir. Chris, what are your thoughts on that one?
Oh, geez, you're going to make me talk about Palantir. Well, I guess I can do that. Yeah, so the stock's been moving higher, and it's just a lot of it has to do with this deal that they announced, or I should say the extension of this deal that they announced last week with Lumen. But that hasn't been the only deal. Again, Palantir just has this tendency that every couple of weeks, every month, you're hearing new deals reported. And the size of the deal with Lumen in terms of the dollar amounts isn't that significant. It was I think a $200 million deal. But again, I think it just shows the strength of how Palantir is becoming this operating system for this whole AI build out. And it's doing it not only on the government side, but it's also doing it on the commercial side. I've still said, and I'll continue to say, Palantir is a long-term buy. Go into it. If you haven't been in the stock yet and you're trying to get into it, don't be surprised if there's going to be a pullback. You saw a big pullback at the beginning of this year. Stocks was at 190, I think, earlier today. Don't know exactly where it's at right this second, but that's the price you're going to pay for being in the stock. But I think if you're looking at it with a long-term lens, as I am, and I see where the stock might be, 5 years, 10 years down the road, it's a buy.
Right. I'm looking at the chart and it looks pretty strong. It's got some choppiness to it, and those pullbacks that Chris mentioned are certainly pretty visible. But the last couple of months, since July, It looks like we've got a little bit of a consolidation and a triangle forming. And today, this week, opened up with a small gap higher at all-time highs. Looks like we're breaking out.
Yeah.
So, provided there's no reason for the market to sell off, nothing emerges that creates, resistance at this level, I see the market continuing higher. And the way it looks, it could be another significant movement.
And it's interesting you brought that up, Thomas, because Bridget and I just did a video on Palantir like about a week ago, and I was saying there was that pattern that Palantir tends to have where there's that consolidation right before earnings, but you don't normally see the pop before earnings, and you're seeing it now. And that means that if you get a really strong earnings report, you could be seeing this thing push past some of even the most bullish price targets, which have been around 200. I've heard some analysts now saying 220 could be in play.
I think Palantir is a hard stock to value because you look at what it is today and what it does today, and that's worth a certain amount of revenue, and that small amount of business might grow at 5 or 10 or 20% for certain numbers of years. But this company is like some of these other pretty visionary tech companies, and Tesla's one of those ones where they're just constantly investing in future business and future growth. Oracle's another one, investing in future infrastructure where they're seeing the future of what AI is going to become. And that's kind of what this Lumen deal is doing. They're connecting with the fiber optic connectivity to help bring AI comprehensively to enterprises, like as a package. And that's huge because enterprises are going to be leaning more and more into AI. They're going to need comprehensive solutions, and this is going to be one. And so I see it in the stock price is just the market's trying to stay in tune with the vision as this vision unfolds, and it's a tough thing for them to do.
Absolutely.
Good. All right. Well, we've got so many different comments coming in right now and some different stocks and different sectors to cover. So let's get into it. We're going to talk about quantum computing first. That was one of the first questions. I know we had a newer stock to talk about in quantum computing, and that was called OSS. This is a comment from a video earlier in the week. So we want to talk about OSS, but we'll also cover really quick Rigetti and IonQ, some of the big ones, how they're doing right now, and whether now is a time to be getting into these quantum computing stocks or not. They've been hot for the last month or so. Where are they at this week?
Right. So, talking about OSS, I'm seeing two different companies with tickers OSS. Which one are you talking about? One Stop Systems?
Yeah, that's the one I was looking at. Is that the one you were looking
All
at, Bridget?
right.
Yes, One Stop Systems. Yep, I'll pull up that chart right now.
Yeah, they had a big dip in revenue last quarter, and that was due to some one-time charges that they say are not going to be a problem anymore. So really, for them, you're seeing next week's earnings is a big deal for them, because
Yeah.
if they can show that that is true, that that was just a one-time event, and that the revenue is all good, and they're on a path to profitability, this could be the right time to get in. And I see analyst sentiment. It's a bit mixed right now. They just got a Weiss ratings reiterated a sell rating on them, but the rest of the market looks pretty bullish on them.
Right.
It's a speculative stock. That's all I can say. It doesn't have much analyst coverage. It's only about 115 million market cap. That just because it's speculative doesn't mean it can't go up, but it's
right.
A lot's riding on the earnings.
Right. Well, what I'm seeing is a small company that's starting to get some traction. I don't see any mention of quantum computing. What I see is they make ruggedized AI equipment.
Yeah.
So like hardened AI equipment for for defense and for industry.
Right.
And so what I'm seeing in the details is they're growing, they're getting traction. Not a big business, but getting some margin traction, shifting to profitability. Got a few analysts, not a lot, but they rated a buy, 16% upside. And again, the charts look promising. We've got support, volumes building.
Right.
There's some resistance in the $6.50 to $7 range. Could cause some trouble in the near term. But with volume rising, it seems like with good news, this market would probably continue to move higher.
All right, interesting. I'm going to just pull up just for fun, just to make sure we covered quantum computing. I understand that might not have been the right sector for that one. It looks like Rigetti took quite a dip this week, but is back up again. But they're not even this week. There was a drop from, it looks like October 15th.
Right.
And it dropped down October 22nd, last week a little bit more so. Is this a buying opportunity, or could there be further to fall?
It could be a buying opportunity. This is kind of what we were talking about before. The market has been running higher, shows some pretty strong bullish signs, doesn't have a lot of real good fundamental reasons to be moving higher because revenue and profitability is still pretty elusive. So this is a speculative market. This pullback's not unexpected. Right now, it looks like we've got resistance at the 30-day moving average, which is pretty strong. MACD is pretty convergent with the recent high. So I would assume this market will probably retest its recent highs fairly soon and could potentially continue to move higher as long as market sentiment stays positive and the news cycle stays favorable, positive.
All right, very good. Well, let's move on to some of the names I'm seeing repeatedly pop up here. One is DVLT. I believe we talked about this one recently, Datavault AI. It's a small stock, but it did have a nice little jump in the last 5 days and a really big jump over the last month.
Yeah, it is up 3% after hours today. So it's making up the gains that it lost earlier. So Datavault's another company where it's starting to gain some traction, has a pretty robust outlook, assuming that it can get to the end, to the finish line. What we talked about before was that there was a low amount of market support. So low analyst support, low institutional support, mostly retail traders support. And they're kind of fighting against the short sellers. Short interest was pretty high. So I think some of this action last week and today has to do with short covering and repositioning. But the thing that really has the markets jazzed right now, the buyers jazzed, are some deals that affirm the business's trajectory and its shift into the AI realm. So it should have enough capital now to at least get its networks operational and to get some revenue flowing. And so over the next couple of quarters, we should hopefully see some more good news and help this stock keep moving higher.
Yeah.
All right, very good. All right, I'm going to give each of you something to look up here for a minute. Sharman wants to know about the CoreWeave I think it's CoreWeave Scientific and AUR Innovation. I think earlier, is there a different sale in CoreWeave? I'm not sure. I haven't looked that one up recently, so excuse me for not knowing what's going on there. Do either of you know anything off the top of your head?
With CoreWeave and what?
AUR is the other stock ticker to look at there. I'm not sure if there was
Oh,
a sale of some kind. So let's just do a quick update on CoreWeave, and then let's
yeah.
talk about AUR as another one. And then we
Right.
will talk about AMPX here. I see a lot of people asking about that one. No problem. We'll cover AMPX too. I'm just going to pull up the CoreWeave chart. Well, this has been one of the biggest stocks of the year. I feel like we can't do a Market Beat Monday without talking about it because everyone's interested in this one.
Right. So
Nothing.
the stock price has been kind of struggling, since the summer. We've got some insider selling and some short interest kind of capping gains. But at the same time, analyst institutional support is also growing, and they're pointing to higher highs, to a new high. So right now, we're just kind of waiting for the earnings cycle
Right.
to unfold and to have some good news support and affirm the outlook for its growth. One thing that's kind of holding the market up right now too is the potential acquisition of Core Scientific. Um, the board has approved the takeover, but there's a lot of shareholder resistance, and there's going to be a vote, I think, later this week. I think the analysts have been kind of firming up their sentiment because they see the deal not happening. They see that as a positive for the business. So it'll be interesting to see later on this week how that vote unfolds and what happens to the stock price.
Perfect. I think that was the question, Thomas. You answered it very well about the scientific purchase. Very good.
There you go.
Chris, have you had a chance to look up AUR?
Yeah, that's Aurora Innovation. This is an autonomous vehicle play. Yeah, so what's getting a lot of interest is that this is a stock that's trading for right around, okay, so it's a little over $5. It closed at today. And it's got a lot of people excited because obviously it's in that area of autonomous technology. It's one of those companies that they're not making a lot of money, and they haven't been making a lot of money. In fact, they're making less money now than they were a couple of years ago. But there's a lot of interest heading into earnings, which I think are out tomorrow for the company. It's not a stock that I'm particularly excited about. I think if you're going to be looking at autonomous plays, I think there's probably some other stocks that I would look at there. But you're going to want to see something that tells me that there's revenue coming through the door more than what you're seeing now. And
Yeah, I think that's a good look at that one for sure. All right, Thomas, let's get into, I love kind of rapid firing through these. That lets me get to more of the things that you were putting in the chat, everyone. So thanks again for all the recommendations. We're getting to them as fast as we can. Thomas, I'm going to have you talk about AMPX. While you're looking at that, Chris, why don't you look into HIMS? We've had a couple of people ask about that recently.
All right. The Amprius story is the same as it's been. This is an emerging technology company gaining traction. Since last week, they announced another purchase order for their battery cells from another unmanned aerial systems manufacturer. So we have several drone manufacturers leaning heavily into this business, really affirming the technology and its ability to provide increased, energy capacity, increased payloads, increased ranges, which really is, applicable for any battery application that there is. So, I mean, the long-term potential for this stock is really to revolutionize the entire battery industry. I mean, I can't say anything, stronger than that. I mean, to honestly really believe that this company could revolutionize the entire battery industry. So in the chart, the volume continues to ramp higher. The last 2 or 3 months since we've broken out to this new high, the consolidation looks very much like a bull flag pattern to me. I would be very surprised if this market does not hit the $18 level within the next couple of weeks before the end of the year, probably right around the next earnings report, which is due out not too long, I don't think. It says
November 6th is the estimate.
that's just just next week. I mean, that's fantastic. We're looking for this company to 16. Right. The analyst outlook is ridiculously low. They're expecting it's still a low revenue company, 15 million last quarter. They're expecting only 1 million in additional revenue this quarter. And they've announced several deals since then. Production has been ramping. I think that's a ridiculously low estimate. I think that we're going to see some pretty strong outperformance. Revenue growth is going to be sustained in the high triple digit range. We're going to get some really awesome guidance, I think. So yeah, I think AMPX is in a good a position as it's been, all summer, all year.
All right, very good. Chris, you're looking at HIMS. Thomas, why don't we pull up? I think John wanted to hear about, actually, eHelp wanted to hear about Webull. So we'll do BULL. I'll have you look that up, Thomas. And then Chris, let's talk about HIMS. What's going on there?
Yeah, so HIMS is down about 15% in the last 3 months. Now it's still up about 100% year to date. So there's probably a little bit of good news, bad news. I think the thing about this stock is there's like 3 different concerns happening with HIMS stock. Number one is simply a valuation concern. The stock just got way up ahead of itself. And I think it's just the fact that it's pulling back now because investors are getting a little bit more squirrely about making sure that valuations align with revenue and earnings, and they just think that HIMS is too expensive. The question you have to ask yourself there is, though, is there a possibility that the company can outperform with revenue? And that's where there's other concerns. One of the strongest drivers for the stock late last year and into early this year was their GLP-1 segment. That's showing a little bit of slowdown. Competition's increasing quickly in this area. So there could be limited upside as far as what the growth is there. And of course, then that deals with margin pressure and customer acquisition costs and all that such. So right now, they report earnings, I believe, next week. I'm looking at this as saying I think there could be some more downward pressure on the stock. Certainly, if this stock gets down closer or below the consensus target, which I believe is like $38, so there's like analysts see that there could be like 20% more downside to the stock. Certainly, I think that would make the stock more attractive. Right now, I do think there's going to be a little bit more downward pressure.
All right, very good. Let's look at Bull. I'm just going through these as fast as I can today. I like it.
It's just a funny stock ticker, that's all.
Right. Right. So this chart is ugly. Since the IPO itself was pretty nasty because the stock shot up like 100% and then it closed with a loss. So that candle's pretty ugly. There's a lot of overhang there. The market will certainly struggle to get above the $30 level, once it gets back to that level. But right now, trading at about 11.50, it looks like it could be a speculative buy. The market is showing some signs of a bottom. We got analysts are favorable. They're rating at moderate buy, not a lot of coverage, but they're forecasting a 60% upside, which puts it around $15. The last commentary was talking about international growth potential. So and cryptocurrency trading. So there certainly is some potential here. It makes money. That's also good.
Yeah.
But I think really the big concern is the valuation. Versus this year's earnings, we're trading about 110 times. And then versus next year, it's just only down to 70 times. It stays above 20x well into the future. Oh yeah. I mean, it's above 30x in 2030. So that's a pretty high valuation for a company that hasn't really proved its ability to do what it says it can do yet.
All right, very good. I'm going to pick just a couple of sectors, and while you guys are looking them up, I'm going to also talk to you guys about another thing I wanted to share too. So we want to do metals sector. We talked about doing this earlier. Some names, I believe, USAR, LAC. Let's see some other. We talked about some earlier that people had commented on throughout the week. So we'll go into the metals sector as well. So why don't you guys start looking up those stocks? And then while they are looking up what's happening in that sector a little bit more, I just wanted to share with you, if you haven't signed on to MarketBeat's premium membership, we have a really great offer out there right now. You can scan the QR code or click the link in the description or in the chat right now. This is for a free 30-day trial of MarketBeat Advanced. What we go through on this website all the time is MarketBeat's website. But if you have my MarketBeat, you get access to even more AI tools, lots of different ways to track your portfolio. It's just so many great resources. Many of them are free, but if you do want to try the advanced membership, it's free right now too, if you want to check that out. I've got that QR code on the screen. All right, guys, let's move on to the metals sector. Which stock should we look at first?
We can look at USAR. I was looking at that one a little bit.
Okay.
So, the company, the reason, the bull case for the stock is right in the name. It's USA Rare Earth, and rare earth minerals are the story right now. People are looking, beyond gold, beyond precious metals. We're looking for those rare earth metals that are going to power everything that we need in the future, and that's why there's interest in the stock. I think the other thing investors need to pay attention to is in the description of what the company is, and that is it's a development stage minerals company. So that doesn't mean that it's going to fail. It doesn't mean it's going to succeed, but right now it means that there's no revenue coming in and it's not profitable, and the stock it's a speculative stock. Doesn't mean that, again, it went up. Let me look at the chart here. It went up. It's been up 79% in the last 3 months, and it's down 11% in the last 5 days. I mean, that's what you're looking at here. I think if you're looking at this company and you're saying you believe in the long-term potential of the company, then you're looking to buy on these big dips. You're going to want to set your stop prices to make sure that you're getting out when you want to get out. That if you're trading it, if you're holding it, you want to be putting in your, your limit orders at the price you want it at. It's a speculative stock. That's all I can say. It's,
right.
the potential is through the roof, but it's potential right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Chris did a really elaborate job of explaining the two notes that I made. And the first one was Trump Z. The stock is moving because of Trump and Z, and it's got no revenue. So that's kind of a problem. You're going to have a lot of volatility in this one.
Yeah.
And then the other one that was on our list, MP Materials Corporation, is really the same story, but there's a big major difference. MP actually is mining metal, and it's making revenue, and it makes profits. Production is surging, or it'll be profitable soon, and production is surging. So within that, it's getting some positive analyst coverage. So out of those two, now that we have a dip, only one I think is really viable, and that would be MP Materials, and simply because it's got revenue and it has an outlook for profitability.
And so, looking at the outlook for this, the metals sector has seen so much growth already. But I've heard lots of talk on there's so much investment happening in this area. Do we think this whole sector as a whole is going to continue to grow?
Well, we need the metals. So, I mean, there is going to be growth in the sector. We've got to find it somewhere, and we have to have better supply chains. It's just a question of which companies are going to find it. They're rare earth metals, so there's not a lot of them out there. So all these companies are not going to find a deposit. One of them will, maybe two of them. So as a group, maybe have a small position in all of them until one of them proves to be a winner, and then consolidate your money into that one.
Yeah. All right. Good point. Let me pull up one other one. I don't know if it's exactly in the same sector, but we're going to go to Lithium Americas stock because there's a nice little pullback in that one right now. I think this is a battery competitor too with AMPX a little bit, if I remember right, Thomas. But it looks like there's about a 10% pullback in the last 5 days. Have you heard of this stock? Thoughts on buying it at the low right now that it's down a little bit?
Isn't this the one that Trump bought into?
I think so. Lithium Americas.
Yep.
So I mean, from what I'm seeing, again, this is a company with no revenue. It's a speculative play on, but that again, that doesn't mean that it can't be successful. It just means that, to the point that Thomas just made,
right.
They have to find it and they have to be able to mine it and get it out of the ground.
Yeah.
And it's just
right. The good news for them right now is they just got their first installment of money from their government loan. So they've got their money to do what they're supposed to be doing. Yeah. Hopefully they'll be able to dig a hole in the ground and pull some valuable rocks out of it.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. It's kind of coming back to me now. I think, wasn't it the fact that because of the government funding, that pretty much ensured that they were going to be able to get their mines up and running, which is what you're saying they're going to do. So that was
right. Yeah,
kind of guaranteed. It guaranteed that they were going to be able to get into the mining stage. That doesn't mean they're going to be profitable on it, but we'll see.
All right, we are going to move on. I've got 2 stocks here. If you've been looking in the chat, this has been persistent, very persistent, Graphic Hubs. I see loud and clear. CRSP and Intel. Those are 2 he wants covered today. Let's go ahead and cover them. Why don't you guys look up both of those?
Sure.
I know Intel, I'm sure you guys could talk about. We've talked about both of these on the channel before. CRISPR Therapeutics has definitely popped up on a MarketBeat Monday before.
Yeah.
Let me just pull up that chart right away here. I've got what the analysts are saying. There is still some upside on this, but it's looking like a hold. And then I've got the chart not doing too much.
Yeah.
Editing. Yeah, right.
CRISPR's a company that, I mean, it's hard not to root for them. It's gene therapy. The potential of their technology and what it could do and what it could solve is exciting. And so they just had an announcement. I'm looking here. Let's see. They just had an announcement about one of their clinical trial drugs in October earlier this month. They reported new clinical data from that. So it looks like that might have been why the stock was getting a little bit of a pop earlier this month. And now it's kind of settling back down. I mean, again, it's hard not to get excited about the potential of the stock, but
yeah,
it's making precious little revenue and it's not profitable. And
right. Analysts are holding it and they seem optimistic, but they're not bullish on it. They're not driving this market. And it looks like institutions.
The institutions are buying it, though.
They're buying.
I just looked at that. Yeah, they're buying.
So they see value, but it just depends on like how big are the positions. What I see in the flow is lots and lots of broad coverage, broad support, but small private asset managers. I don't see any big fund managers. Not in the last couple of weeks. Voya.
Yeah, this is still a mid cap company. It's about $5 billion, and I'm not poo-pooing it. I've been watching this company for a while, and again, it's hard not to root for them. But
it looks like a swing for the fences play that the institutions are banking on.
Exactly. And it's short interest has been up, which just tells me that I think a lot of the institutions just feel like the stock got a little bit ahead of itself right now, and you could be seeing a pullback again. If you're going to be getting into the stock as a long-term play, that's fine. Just know what price you want to buy it at, and have your stops there if you're trading it and all that stuff. But
short interest is at record highs, 25% right now. So I would say that it looks like this is $80 looks like a ceiling right now. If you get above that, you could see some pretty significant gains, but I think that it could have some trouble getting above that level right now.
Right.
All right, very good. I'm going to move on to a couple others here. Lots of other names coming in. Again, we're trying to rapid fire today as much as possible. Intel was one, so I'll have you guys both talk about that, but I also wanted to get some next ones on the list. SoFi has come up a few different times, so we'll talk about SoFi. We're going to cover RZLV because I think this one's interesting, and we will get to Mohammed is wanting Hoth and FFAI. So we've covered both of those before, but we'll get to them again here soon. Thanks for the super chat, RC. We've got our first one coming in here. Charter Communications, CHTR. I'll make sure to get to that one too. So we've got a list to cover, guys. Let's start with Intel, and then I'll have you look up some of those other names here.
Right. So It looks like with Intel, it's mostly a normalization story. It struggled for a long time. It's been making some strategic changes. We have returned to growth. We've sustained growth. We've got profitability. And it looks like they've got an AI strategy developing. So yeah, it just looks like the market support is just coming back for this once loved, long lamented company. So hopefully they'll be able to continue progressing with their turnaround.
My follow-up question here, Thomas, I've got the analyst ratings up here, and the analysts have not caught up to where this chart is right now.
I see this.
Yeah, that's quite a difference. Any thoughts on that? Are we expecting to see anything with earnings?
There have not been any upgrades, but there have been a tremendous number of boosted price targets in October. $45, $40. So, right. So we're not looking at a major rebound happening right now, but it looks like the analysts have put a floor in the market. So if we get some positive news developments, there's some additional good news in the upcoming earnings reports, the stock could potentially continue to move higher.
All right, good look at that one. Let's move on to some of these others. We'll get to our CHTR. This is our super chat. Thank you for doing that again. I've not heard of this one either. I like it when we have new names come on too.
Charter Communications, their cable. That's my cable.
Have we talked about them on the show before? I don't think we have.
I don't think so. I know that the service is expensive. I don't know much about the stock.
Oh, wow. They had a big falling off, it looks like, just before August.
Well, right.
Yeah, down 20% in 3 months is quite a little drop off for this one. I'll give you guys some time to look up and see what could be behind that. Just scrolling through here, their earnings, it looks like a little bit of a miss recently. They've got another one coming up at this week yet. Right. They've got earnings.
The cable companies have struggled with subscribers and growth and, earnings quality, forever. Charter did go bankrupt and had to emerge from bankrupt maybe 10 or 11 years ago. It looks like, earnings missed the last report. Low expectations. Yeah, it's just a big giant company that could be doing better, but just doesn't seem to ever be able to do better.
Yeah. I think maybe one of the interests in this, if you're somebody who looks at analyst price ratings, you're looking at that consensus price target, it has an upside of about 52% right now, which might make it seem attractive. But I'm curious to see what the recent trends have been. It looks like maybe a couple of lower price targets.
Right. So what I just pulled up was the chart of monthly price action. And this is very interesting because starting in, early 2020, when COVID was around and we were all at home watching TV, the stock price shot up from the low of $430 to over $800. So, almost 100% in just a couple of months. Since then, it's sold off by more than 50%, creating a resistance point around the $500 level. So there's a pretty significant amount of overhang in this market right now. There's lots of people that own this stock at much higher levels that thought they were doing a good job buying it, that have been losing money for a long time. And there's not a lot of reason to think the stock's going to be bouncing back very significantly. Yeah. So anytime it moves higher, I would expect to see the market sell into that rally. That's what we see in 2023 and again last year and then this year and, just a couple of months ago, like in July, Yeah. So this is just a stock that's struggling. I don't see any reason to want to buy it or own it or hold it long term right now. It doesn't pay a dividend that I'm aware of. No dividend. Yeah, this is just one to maybe if if you're interested in it, keep it on your watch list. But I don't think it's one that I would want to put money into right now.
Thank you for going over that again, RC. Thank you for the super chat on that one too. Let's get to SoFi. That's one that a lot of people wanted to look at. Also going to be looking at RZLV. Those were two to look at. And then Mohammed, we're going to get to Hoth and FFAI too.
So SoFi reports earnings, I believe it's tomorrow, and I can see why people are excited about that. So to me, this looks like a case of a stock that's probably gotten a little bit ahead of itself. Not without reason. They've produced the goods, but the stock looks a little extended, at least as far as where the analysts go. What's interesting to me, I just was looking this up, Bridget, when you asked me to look up SoFi. So the key here, as it is with so many stocks, is about earnings. Right now, people would look at SoFi and they'll say it's really overvalued. They've got like a forward price to earnings ratio of like 114, and the current PE is around 62. And this is a financial services company. It's not supposed to have a PE that high. But if you look at what analysts are expecting for earnings, analysts are expecting earnings to come in over the next 12 months at 103%. So when you start saying a forward PE of around 114 and earnings growth of 103%, it doesn't necessarily seem that outrageous.
Because it's only 15x times the 2035 outlook. It's got a lot of growth being priced in.
Yeah. So you're going to have to see, again, the company reports earnings tomorrow. I think you're going to have to see a strong report there. Otherwise, you could see the stock falling back a little bit. But again, I think the stock's a long-term buy, might be a little bit too extended. Let me see here. I think it just closed. I think it might have closed an all-time high today, if I'm reading that chart right.
Well, yeah, it's an intraday high at the very least.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens going into earnings. Again, like I said, I think there's a lot to like about the stock long term. It just might have gotten a little bit ahead of itself right now.
Yeah. For you guys, quick follow up on SoFi. If we do see maybe a little bit of a miss on earnings tomorrow, when we do see a pullback in that stock, would that be a buying opportunity for either of you?
Yeah, I think it would be.
I think so.
It's certainly well positioned to capture, online lending, and also to benefit from AI. AI will help it, get clients, de-risk its loan portfolio and increase its own, efficiency and services for customers. It's, I think, really just a win-win. What we see in the charts is the market is anticipating strong results. So, we get a good report. This market should be moving higher, I think.
Yeah, this was one stock, Bridget, that I've talked about before, and I've said this was one of the stocks that I put in my but category, because it was a stock that it seemed like every quarter they would, like, somebody would have an objection, they'd say but this, and then they do that, and then it'd be but this, and then SoFi would just keep beating those expectations, and they never got any credit for it. Now they are, and it might have overcorrected here a little bit, but that's okay. Again, I agree with Thomas. I think any pullback here would be a buying opportunity.
Very good. I like that stock analysis. Let's move on to RZLV, Rezolve AI. I can't remember. I think we might have brought this up on a MarketBeat Monday once before. Yep.
Have we? Okay, yeah.
We have. I just got to refresh my memory of what it is. Rezolve AI. There was a massive pullback in the stock price.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Short interest, high risk bets. Oh yeah, this is the retail focused AI. So AI services for retailers.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
E-commerce platforms. Right. So this, I think, might be in the same category as stocks like Big Bear AI, where it's in a great industry and it could be doing very well, but there's lots of other companies, Salesforce, that kind of do the same thing. That why would I go to Rezolve when I can go to a bigger, better established company that's already doing that job very well?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I did want to pull up. I think the interesting thing here is it's a really small stock, and it has 9 or 10 analyst ratings on it, and the consensus price target's at $9 right now. So that's almost 86% upside. And some of those are recent. Some of those price targets are pretty recent. There was one the start of October going from a $10 price target to a $15 price target on this stock. And those, again, when I see recent moves like that, what do you think could be behind it?
Let me see on these 10-8 post target 10-2. I mean, these are certainly people anticipating strength in this stock. But let's see what's in the results. But again, it's a small company. They're only bringing in 13 million or so per quarter. They are expecting growth, but we don't have a lot of history, and we're just waiting to see some results.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I'm pulling up short interest too. Doesn't look like anything too much going on with short interest either. So just a small stock, an interesting one. Thanks for bringing that up. I know that a few people wanted to look at that one. Okay, let's get into two of the names that I haven't heard much of, but I know we had one person who wanted to hear about Hoth and FFAI. I think we've maybe covered Hoth once before.
Which one is that? H-O what?
H-O-T-H, Hoth Therapeutics. This is a really small one.
And what's the other one?
And then the other one is FFAI. Interesting. Another really small penny stock territory. So these are both kind of interesting to look at. I'm going to pull up the Hoth one first, just to go through some of the movement. It's a lot of movement in this stock for sure.
All right. Give me a minute. FFAI. I think I remember this one. I think this is a meme stock. I think this is like Mullen Automotive.
So Hoth Therapeutics, Bridget, they had they're a clinical stage company. So again, let's just be aware of what this is. It's a company that's not generating any revenue. They're not profitable. They haven't gotten any drugs across the finish line, but they just had an announcement on October 21st that so they had positive results for the drug that it's got in market. I'm trying to see quickly if that's the only one they have in their pipeline. So, but from what I can see, that's that I think is like a phase 1. I'm trying to find their. Looks like they have a couple in in clinical trials. One's in phase 1B, the other one's in 2A. So what that tells me is they're still a while away from having something that comes across the finish line. Looks like they're trying to get into the weight loss area, that GLP thing. Again, hard to recommend the stock. It seems like it's being driven more by speculation right now in the short term. But again, if you're looking at the stock and you believe in the idea that they're going to be able to get the drugs passed through the process, that's fine. Just realize you're going to be holding on to it for several years before any revenue comes in the door, and probably a couple of years beyond that before you start seeing profit. But hard to recommend the stock, but if you're trading it, then traders know what they have to do. They have to,
Let's talk about the other one. That's this tiny stock, the FFAI. What were you saying about that one, Thomas?
Well, it's an EV company that doesn't have any manufacturing and no sales. It's been struggling for a long time. It's got some serious concerns with liquidity and funding. It's tried to make a shift into AI and into cryptocurrency. There's almost no analyst coverage. There's two, one at a hold, one at a sell. Institutional ownership is pretty solid at 72%, but we've only had one institution buy or sell in the last 12 months. So I'm not sure who it is that's actually owning this stock. The chart is ugly. I mean, it's going nowhere. It's basically a flat line. As far as earnings and revenue goes, there's nothing to speak of. It's burning money. I mean, there is some outlook for sales to begin in the next year or so, but we're talking $14 million. That's not enough to, do anything for this business. Yeah. This is one that I think was interesting a couple of years ago when the EV startup craze was around, but it's dead money now.
Yeah, speaking of that, we're already over a little bit, but I want to get to just two more stocks. Rivian, because we're on the topic already. Let's see if there's anything happening in Rivian. Speaking of that electric vehicle sector, this stock was all the craze for a while, and let's see what's going on now.
Mm. It looks like the same.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just moving sideways down near its lows. I haven't heard any good news from them to make me think it's going to go anywhere soon. All right, they just settled a lawsuit. They're laying off employees.
Yeah.
They're going to spin off something, an electric bicycle. All right. Yeah, maybe.
Interesting.
Electric bike.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, it's like to me, this looks like another EV startup that's struggling to find something else to do.
Yeah.
I think they've got some, right. Oh yeah, and the tax credits are expiring, so sales are going to tank real soon anyway.
Yeah.
Got a recall. Yeah, I mean, this is another one. Was really awesome when it was, part of the EV startup craze, but now it's just kind of floundering around.
Yeah, the industry is being propped up by those incentives, and now
right.
Yeah,
we've got some growth, but it's tepid. No profitability. The forecast for profits next decade, maybe. So, yeah.
All right, we are probably already out of time. It is 3:51. We like to go to about 3:45 for MarketBeat Mondays just to keep these guys not too long. So thank you both for diving into all of these different names. We covered a lot today. I know there's still quite a few names that I wasn't able to get to in the chat. Thank you everybody for tuning in today. I do want to say, if you haven't done this yet, I would really love to have you subscribe to our channel. This helps us a ton just to be able to keep these guys a little bit longer, to get different guests on here yet. So if you are tuning into MarketBeat Monday regularly, if you're watching our videos all the time, make sure to hit subscribe on the channel. It helps a lot. You also get alerts whenever our videos come out every single day. So if you are watching on TV, you can scan the QR code. We've got a link that you can hit to subscribe to. We'd really appreciate it, everyone. Thank you again for watching and for all of your different comments in the chat. We always appreciate you tuning in and giving us so many great different stocks to talk about on MarketBeat Mondays. As always, everyone, happy investing.